The most important thing for us is patient satisfaction. I can't say customer because if there is a doctor, there is a patient. If the patient trusts you, he or she tells you so. You have a loyal patient for a lifetime. The first thing I would say about health is this: first, do no harm. Do the patient no harm and do what's best. Hello. I'm Dr. Nejdet ŞIŞMAN. I am an aesthetic, plastic and reconstructive surgery specialist. In 1990, after completing medical school, in 1997, I started my specialty training and completed it in 2003. I resigned from state hospital and started working as a staff physician in a private hospital, Kent Hospital. After working here for 2 years, I opened my own private polyclinic. If we classify the procedures performed in our polyclinic into two, they are two main headings as medical aesthetic applications and operations. About medical aesthetic applications, after conducting interviews, we perform the surgeries at Kent Hospital, with which we have an agreement. If I talk about medical aesthetic applications, as it is known, these are filling, Botox, wrinkle treatments, laser applications. In short, we can say these, and we also have a slimming unit. We also have devices in many areas such as hair removal and laser applications. I received training on laser applications in Florence and Milan. By reinforcing these trainings, I am one of the few people in Turkey who perform these operations. Regarding VASA and laser body contouring surgeries, which are more preferred surgeries today, we mostly perform these surgeries. The fields we work in are very wide. The most preferred applications in our clinic are as follows: breast, abdomen, face operations, body contouring operations. After the initial examination of the patient here in the clinic, we perform the procedure in the hospital. What is important at this point is the patient's suitability. Recently, we have patients who request mommy makeover, the procedure performed after pregnancy. We perform these operations successfully. The most important point here is the suitability of the patients. First of all, consultations need to be done, and then operations need to be planned. Health tourism is now at the forefront in Turkey and the world. To be a leader in this field, we received our certificate and started accepting patients from all over the world. We have created our infrastructure for this. And from now on, by opening up to the world, we want to follow innovations in this field and share them with our patients. The most important thing for us is patient satisfaction. I can't say customer because if there is a doctor, there is a patient. That's why I have to use the word patient. Even though we work in the field of aesthetics, smiling face, correct diagnosis, and correct service, the patient should leave here happily. The most important thing is post-procedure follow-up, especially in patients coming from abroad. We attach great importance to follow-up after they return home. We are mostly consulted for aesthetic operations. If I list them from top to bottom, body contouring operations, breast surgeries, and mommy makeover. These are the priority operations. There are also facial and nose surgeries. We also have a group of patients who come here for a short time and want small touches on their face. We perform medical aesthetic applications for these patients. Botox, fillers, skin rejuvenation, and laser treatments are the most common procedures performed on a daily basis in our clinic. We carry out these procedures on demand. If a surgery is required, consultation is done first and treatment is planned. Then an appointment is made and the operation is performed. Post-op care is important here. Each surgery has a hospitalization period. When they are fit to board the plane, we discharge them from the hospital and send them on their way. When I graduated in 1990, the medical chambers gave us a medical tourism certificate as hotel doctors. That's when our adventure began. Then we developed with government incentives. Health tourism with foreign patients has become a business carried out by organizations with authorization certificates. What I care more about here is this: those who do not have an authorization certificate bring patients from abroad and try to have these procedures done cheaply. This is the biggest problem here. You cannot sell quality service cheaply. If you are selling cheap, there is a problem. We are facing the politics of smear campaign these days. There are agencies that do not have authorization and try to sell their labor cheaply. If possible, physicians should work with certified clinics or build their own infrastructure. They should be able to follow it from beginning to end. In fact, if it has an infrastructure in its own country, it should enter this business with an infrastructure that can perform post-op care there. In the long run, this should be the way for Turkey to come to the forefront. In Turkey, the government, the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Trade provide a lot of incentives for health tourism. It gives us financial support to go further. This is an important thing. We should promote ourselves very well abroad with these incentives. We should participate in the necessary fairs. We have to promote ourselves, our clinic and Turkey very well. We need to attract more patients to Turkey. I think we should consider something like this regarding the price policy. When I perform surgery in a Group A CSR accredited hospital, the prices for this are clear. Especially in the field of hair transplantation, we see a lot of places under the counter. In Istanbul or other cities, operations by unauthorized persons are a problem for us and can lead to patient loss. Strict inspections and the Ministry of Health can prevent this. Of course, we can support them by doing the right thing. I see the patient entering the clinic timidly. But when they leave the clinic, they feel like we are close friends. This is a very important criterion. It means we can reassure the patient. Relatives of these patients come to us for treatment without advertising. Yes, advertising is very important. But one patient who leaves brings back 10 patients. I can describe my approach to patients with the following topics. I do not recommend things that are not necessary in the patient's examination. Patient expectations are very important. If these expectations are not met, I would not recommend it to the patient. Our aim here is not to perform a procedure on every patient who comes, but to present the truth. This is a very important point in aesthetic and plastic surgery. Considerations such as the psychology of the patient, whether their wishes are met or not, and what their expectations are should be taken into account. I will not perform any procedure for a patient who comes with a photo from social media. The important thing is the right patient, the right treatment. That means happiness for both the physician and the patient. This is a very important criterion for me. I follow innovations a lot. I recommend that these innovations be applied to patients. What matters here is conformity. Like European standards. I have many plans abroad, but I am the only physician here. But when I build a team here, the most important point is to have a clinic where post-op follow-up of patients coming from abroad will be done. If necessary, to go there periodically to see the patients and follow them up. This is an important criterion. Of course, there should be a consensus between the health ministries of the countries. Not every country recognizes every diploma. There could be counseling and post-op care offices. In some countries, if their infrastructures are suitable, we would like to work there as well. These can be realized through important protocols between governments and ministries. Some countries have this and some don't. I recently received the Health Tourism Authorization Certificate. When I was working at Kent Hospital, I was also doing health tourism. USTTAK has a very important portfolio. An institution that gained my trust in a short period of time. When I listened to the views of the participants on this issue in the organizations I attend, everyone was very pleased. So I thank them very much. The first thing I would say about health is this: first, do no harm. Do the patient no harm and do what's best. I want to say this, T is a general reflection of our society. If I remember correctly, a patient of mine came between 2008 and 2010. She was very unhappy. She said her husband was uncomfortable with the way she looked. She said she would be happy when her appearance changed. I told her I'd do my best. Her financial situation was not good either. I wanted her to be psychologically well and be useful to society and herself. I've done a number of operations. About 6 months later, this patient came and thanked me. She said that her husband was in love with her, but she would not be with him. We are getting such positive feedback. I think the solution to this is actually the psychiatry department. Here, I think that plastic surgery also plays the role of a surgical psychiatrist. If the patient trusts you, he or she tells you so. You have a loyal patient for a lifetime. Even if he has a different disease, he consults us. He's even calling on a different subject, and that's a very good thing.